We're officially 1 week out from ConExpo-Con 2026, and this year's show is going to be massive. 2,000 exhibitors, nearly 3 million square feet of exhibit space, and 150 education sessions. Vegas isn't going to know what hit it. Hey everyone, I'm Jordanne Waldschmidt, and you're watching the Iron Insider, Equipment World's all-new show where we break down the data-backed trends shaping the construction industry and fleets of the future. We're talking top-selling machines, rental rate movement, and the hottest new product drops, all powered by Fusible's EDA and Equipment Watch data and Equipment World's team of editors. We'll also bring in experts with real-world, practical advice to help you run more efficiently and make smarter buying, selling, and rental decisions. All right, let's dive in. Every 3 years, the entire industry descends on Las Vegas for ConExpo-Con, one of the biggest construction equipment trade shows in the world. And from March 3rd through the 7th, myself and the entire Equipment World team will be on the ground covering every major product launch and every breakthrough technology. If you want real-time updates, make sure you're subscribed at equipmentworld.com and follow us on social media. Manufacturers are already teasing what's coming. 2025 sales leader Caterpillar revealed new intelligent autonomous-ready excavators, dozers, loaders, haul trucks, and rollers at CES. And we can't wait to get a closer look at those machines on the show floor. And among the more than 30 machines on display at CAT's Operator Stadium, attendees will see the all-new electric drive medium dozer, 319 excavator, AP 1055 paver, and the 150 and 160 motor graders. Deere and Wirtgen are rolling out 24 all-new machines along with digital tools, live demos, and hands-on experiences across their massive 80,000 square foot booth. You'll also find 25 tech pack machines and 7 electric and hybrid electric models. We got an early look at Deere's next-gen mid-size P-tier excavators recently in Arizona, and those roomy new cabs with EH controls and integrated 2D machine control unlock a whole new level of standard tech. You're gonna wanna see these in person. Develon and sister company Hyundai recently merged, forming HD Construction Equipment. The new company has ambitious goals targeting $10 billion in sales by 2030, a 95% increase from 2024. And it's betting on its new Dash 9 series Develon excavators and next-gen HX series Hyundai excavators to drive growth, especially in North America. And speaking of new names, Hitachi will also use ConExpo to kick off its major rebrand to Landcross. While the name and decals will change, the Landcross machines will keep the same model nomenclature and the brand's signature reliable orange color. Hitachi currently ranks 10th in new financed equipment sales in the US. And Komatsu is bringing one of its strongest equipment lineups in years, with several machines making their North American debut. Highlights include the new PC220 LCI-12 and PC365 LC excavators, plus an all-new excavator model. The lineup also features the WA475-11 and WA485-11 wheel loaders, 2 next-generation dozers, the HD605-10 haul truck, and the debut of an all-new articulated truck. And here's a big one. We've got a strong hunch that Kubota is about to drop its largest track loader ever. Dealer videos of the SVL 110-3 leaked last fall, with the SVL 75-3 and 97-3 topping EDA's new finance sales. This machine is about to make a serious splash. New Holland is also making a bold push deeper into construction. The company currently ranks 9th in new financed equipment sales, while sister company CE ranks 6th. New Holland is bringing 15 plus new machines to the show, including new D-Series mini excavators, a new electric mini track loader, and small articulated loaders. Case will also bring 20 new or upgraded models, including its next-gen N-Series dozers, new excavators and wheel loaders, its electric mini track loader, plus upgraded technology solutions. And finally, Volvo. In the midst of its biggest launch period ever, will have nearly 20 machines at the show, with 14 of those being new models or first looks. Several new excavators, including the first compact and wheel models from its new series, and a new midsize crawler will make their show debuts, along with the A60 and R70 haul trucks. For more monthly sales breakdowns of the latest products coming to ConExpo, head on over to equipmentworld.com. Up next, I'm tossing it to Senior Editor Ben Thorpe and AEM's John Summers for everything else new and notable at the show.
John, great to have you here on the Iron Insider. This will actually be my first ConExpo-Con Ag, so I've got a few questions for myself and for everyone watching. What new technologies and equipment are you going to be most excited to see on the show floor this year?
Yeah, so I guess first off, Ben, good to see you. Thanks for having me, Jordanne. Appreciate the invite and keeping the news flowing out to this industry. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on, kind of in the background and during ConExpo setup here at AEM, which I'm not as deeply involved with, but always kind of following along the madness over the 3 years in between shows and how the team pulls it all together. But I think when I hit the ground in Vegas, like that's when like all the really cool stuff happens, right? Because there's all the stuff that is the OEMs kind of hold close, and don't really release. And sometimes I know some things that I maybe shouldn't know quite ahead of time. But I think there's a few themes going on, at the 2026 show this year. One of them is really going to be like, we've heard from the contractors and the attendees of the show that they really want products and solutions that help their business like today or tomorrow, right? Not necessarily concepts that are years out. Of course, there'll be some, you can call it like future machines, the show and stuff like that, right? But a lot of the solutions are new model releases, new configurations, new efficiencies, new safety technology, new automation, different powertrains like electrification or hydrogen, all of that stuff that's basically like here now or will be in the near future. But yeah, I think if we come back to like those three real kind of trends of this, I think a lot of the equipment and technology that's going to be on display is like helping an inexperienced workforce, whether that's with safety or just efficiency on a job site. A lot of those devices, like safety devices, getting integrated more in equipment, and then things to help contractors lower their total cost of ownership and just, potentially, impact on the environment and all of that. So it's a lot of stuff that all is kind of intertwined, but yeah, it's exciting times.
It really is. It's very exciting. Are there any first-time exhibitors or any particularly exciting breakthrough machines that you think attendees should look out for at the show this year?
Yeah, so there's always newcomers, right? And I think we have, about 2,000 different exhibitors covering about 3 million square feet, which is like hard to wrap your head around how big that is. It's hard to really pinpoint specific examples of exhibitors and what they're doing, because there's also a difference between companies that haven't typically been in a product space that are launching products. And a product might just be like, this machine now has a grade control system on it, or different data and different sensors. So it's kind of a new like solution from a typical iron OEM. And then there's a lot of newcomers in the automation autonomy space. There's a lot of new data players. There's software, for analyzing the wild amount of data coming off equipment. Like, so there's all of that stuff, right? I think it's, one of the things I always kind of say is like, figure out what you want to solve for, right? And like what your potential issues on a job site are, whether that's, safety or data or just operational efficiencies, and then, kind of do a little bit of research and look for stuff related to that.
Moving on, and this is something you've already touched on, electrification. We're hearing that term a lot. We're all talking about AI and automation. We've talked about it before. We're hearing a lot about it again leading up to the show. How are those three trends in particular going to be on display and showing up at this year's ConExpo?
Electrification's here. It has its place. The technology is only going to get better. I mean, you think about the environments where it totally makes sense, and then there's some environments where it doesn't. And the point of that is that There's going to be multiple powertrain technologies that are in this industry for my lifetime, right? For the foreseeable future, diesel, hydrogen combustion, hydrogen fuel cell enters, battery electric enters, like all of that stuff, and they all have their place. And I think for the consumer, the end user, to understand like when those should be used and what kind of applications, I think the industry is going to do a better job of telling that story. From automation, it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like, are we automating functions of the equipment, or are we removing the operator completely? Those are two totally different things, right? And the function automation can be, for precision, for using less material, inexperienced operator, like that is something that the industry is really going to focus on in the next couple of years, especially as the workforce changes and stuff, right? As for like the full, call it fully autonomous, right? Whatever that really means. It's coming. I mean, there's a lot of solutions for that, but it's tough in the construction space with every job site being different and, different. It's easier to, maybe automate a haul truck than it is to do something like landscaping work or something like that, right? So there's a big variation in there. But I think if people just kind of focus on what problem they're trying to solve, and I think it's making job sites and equipment and operators more efficient, then that's happening. As I'm kind of working my way backwards, I think through the three you said, like AI, AI is everywhere, right? I think I always kind of say it's a tool. It's not really a solution. It's a tool to help somebody get to a solution. Talked a lot about data coming off equipment. It's too much for any human to analyze, right? And if people are like, give me all the data, I want to look for insights. Like that's not that's your solution looking for a problem kind of backwards thing, right? So it's kind of like, what are you trying to solve for? If you're trying to solve for idle time and you have 100 machines, let's use some kind of system to analyze that and find the anomalies and figure it out and how you can improve. So I think AI is going to do a really good job of kind of that, call it like tedious tasks that a person could do, and just kind of speeding up that whole process.
Fantastic. Great summary. And I think we're all really excited for a lot of that stuff that we're going to see. Diving deeper into the actual on-ground experience of this year's show, what are some of the new features, experiences that people are going to encounter that they maybe didn't see 3 years ago, like demos, hands-on zones, those kinds of things?
So like education's always been a big part of it, right? So there's about 150 different, call it in-classroom, kind of meeting room education sessions. I think that's more than other years, but we're always kind of around that 120, 150 mark. Multiple different tracks, whether that's fleet management, operations, like specific paving classes and stuff like that, right? So we're kind of hitting all of those bases and hearing from industry experts, whether those are equipment or solution providers or contractors telling kind of the real world stories. So education's not new, but we're always kind of just upping our game, in the offerings of that. There is some new education stuff. So we're launching the Groundbreakers stage this time. So essentially it's a picture of bigger high production keynote stage that has multiple different presentations from different OEMs and solution providers on that stage. So could be talking about, product launches or upcoming things or solutions they're going to provide their customer, talking about partnerships with other groups or other companies, that how they're just basically improving the products in the marketplace. I'll pitch myself here for a second, right? So Thursday afternoon at the show, I'm working on there's a 2-hour time block on that Groundbreaker stage where we're going to have kind of TED Talk style, 7 different presentations talking about different disruptive technologies or emerging technologies that are going to hit the construction space. So that's, if I remember all of them, that's AI, autonomy, drones, virtual reality to train a workforce, robotics, meaning like actually robots are not necessarily autonomous equipment, a little bit different than that. There's a couple more, but yeah, I think it's going to be, really kind of that quick hitter, not product pitch. Like we're not talking about like this is a solution. It's more of the overarching, here are some things coming for the industry. So if people are like, hey, I saw the equipment that I can get tomorrow, like kind of what's the next step, what's coming, what do I need to, whether it's kind of prepare myself or kind of internally for, that'll be there as well. So, but there's also some more stuff that a lot of the attendees and different groups can take like to help their business like right now, right? I keep focusing on that as part of the show instead of like, hey, in 5 years there's this, right? It's kind of like what can you do to improve your business tomorrow? So there's the Empower Her workshop, which is all about like the women in construction. There's the small business workshop which really kind of helps those smaller contractors, or maybe they worked for a larger contractor, and them and a few other people have started their own excavating company, kind of how to run your small business and a lot of the tips of like just kind of like the operations of that, when you're owning your own business or being one of the owners in a smaller organization. And then there's the one that I'm probably most excited about, which is the Shop Talks and Walks workshop. So this is taking place on Saturday, the last day of the show. We're kicking it off with a panel, with a breakfast and then a panel. So the panel is really talking about like how to use data to proactively do maintenance, monitor data to proactively do maintenance, do parts procurement, and then kind of work with like the technicians in the industry to keep uptime, right? I mean, it's like you could kind of talk about like machine going down is so detrimental to everybody, right? It's like how do we maximize our uptime of all of our machines in a job site? So using some new technology to do that. And then, and there's still spots available, so I'd recommend people going to the website and trying to register for this now. But there's, I think, 3 or 4 different areas of the show where we're taking smaller groups of around 30 people and giving them a walk around of the show and taking them to specific booths, and then having the experts in that booth talk about routine maintenance and things to look for to keep your equipment up and running. So it's almost like I'll say hands-on. I mean, I don't think we're really going to be like, changing hydraulic fluids during this, but I mean, it's kind of like how this works, things that the equipment owner can do on their own to keep their fleet up and running, and then where some of that technology comes in to help them do predictive maintenance or, schedule the maintenance so the job site doesn't go down. So, yes, a couple new things we're doing, 3 new things we're doing this year. I think you mentioned demos. I mean, there's, for those that don't know the show kind of footprint, maybe half of it's indoors, half of it's outdoors, right? I mean, there's equipment moving around in both areas, right? So a lot of demos outside, especially in the festival ground lot out there, a lot of equipment, whether they're, showing off different functionality of attachments or, some potentially like teleoperated or remote operated equipment. So a lot of hands-on, a lot of stuff that, the attendees can touch, feel, kind of see how it works. Then what everybody does in their booth, right? I mean, there's there's stages. Some companies build buildings outside, right? I mean, so there's all that like kind of in specific company education on their products and their solutions as well that are kind of like outside of the show, oversight. So constant learning, man. That's the name of the game.
And there's definitely not a shortage of things to do at the show, especially with the size that we've already discussed here. So when it comes to people, maybe even people who have never been before, what are some of the upgrades that have been made, or maybe some of the tools that are available to help people navigate this massive show?
Yeah, it's the worst thing somebody can do is just show up and start walking, right? Because you're just never going to understand, the scope of it and what you're looking for. So, yeah, we have a show planner, on the website. The mobile app's launching, I think, in a couple weeks here. I think it's like the second week of February. So it's really that technology to like let people basically search for specific companies they want to see, but then also get recommendations if they look for specific product categories or products they're looking for, right? Because I think that's a huge thing, the huge advantage that we have at the show is we bring everybody together, right? But then the thing is providing those tools so people can kind of like map their path ahead of time. Don't just show up. Like that's it's kind of interesting, but.
Well, that sounds great, John. And it sounds like it's going to be definitely a show, as you say, not to just walk in, but to maybe plan ahead for. And speaking of planning, so if somebody only had one day at the show, what would you say definitely belongs on their must-see list if they're going to prioritize their day?
That's a good question. First of all, one day's not enough. I would recommend much more than that. I mean, the show's 5 days long, right? For a reason. I mean, there's some smaller shows that are shorter, but I think there's probably 2 things that somebody would need to do, like if they literally have a limited amount of time there. And if there's stuff that you feel like, as an attendee, you can't miss, like I need to see this new product launch from this company, make sure you figure out like the kind of bus drop off or take the monorail like to wherever they are close and go see that. But then don't just focus your time there. Make sure you kind of like walk around that area and go in some areas that maybe aren't totally on your radar, because you never know what you're going to see, right? The other thing I would always recommend doing is talk to everybody, right? I mean, I don't know if some folks are like this or not, but you go into a booth, it might be a little intimidating, especially if you're a small to mid-sized contractor. You're like, oh, they're talking to these bigger players that are buying a bunch of machines. That everybody in this industry is really friendly, right? I mean, and the exhibitors are there because they want to talk to their customers. So like, it's a really good opportunity to talk to the OEM reps or the engineers or the product managers that really had a play in making this machine. So nobody should ever really feel afraid of, having a conversation, with the representatives from the companies. The other thing is like, I don't know, eavesdrop on conversations. Like, is that a kind of a weird thing to say? That's usually what I do at the show. I love listening to what other people's challenges are. And I've told this story a few times in some other conversations. Sure, there are some contractors that compete with each other and everything like that, but there's a ton that don't, right? So if we're sitting here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right? If you're doing work here in Milwaukee, you're not necessarily competing with somebody that's doing, mid-sized projects in Arizona, right? So if you just come across that person at the show and they're asking a question, like, just kind of interject with them. You guys are probably running into some of the same challenges, whether that's equipment operation or workforce, or how do I, dig through this rock, or whatever that is, right? And it's kind of like learn from each other. I think everybody's always open to sharing kind of what they know and helping everybody else out. Like it's a really industry where you could really kind of, make some good friends and learn some insights from each other, not just the exhibitors.
Yeah. John, thanks again for joining us here today. We all look forward to seeing you and the rest of the industry at the show coming up here next week. So if you want more coverage, more data, and more insider interviews, hit subscribe, follow us on social, and check out everything at equipmentworld.com. Thanks again, John.
Good deal.